Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin String coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And tonight, as I mentioned last week, I will be bringing out another lamb themed ration. This is the other Minotaur Arctic field ration that was sent to me a few months ago by one of the awesome community members. These later ones did not have menu numbers like they first did when Minotaur first brought these out. These just have the year of production and what the menu is. This one happens to be a lamb with vegetables in a curry sauce. This is a different lamb main than I've had before. The other one was a lamb stew. So it did not have the curry or a garam masala or any kind of spices like that. But this one is in a curry, and I figured since we just celebrated Eid al-Adha, which coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca and Saudi Arabia, and those people who are in a position where they can do the slaughter of an animal will many times choose a lamb or an adult sheep or a goat, or they may go up in size to a cow, or in some places they may even do a camel, and then that would produce a whole lot of meat to distribute to a whole lot more people. Let's see. Got impulses here. There is Cliff in the house. Thanks for dropping in. So I have my kettle on the stove coming to a boil. So I'm going to go ahead and open the box. So this is the lamb with vegetables in curry sauce. It says season to taste, and I am going to do just that. And then there is something that I would not have expected to go along with this broccoli cheese soup mix. So that will require some additional hot water, so I filled the kettle up accordingly. This is a hot cocoa mix, and that will be going into my foreign emery mug. This is a tropical punch, and that will be going into my drinking jar. This is the chocolate cheesecake mix, which I have had before. This one did not include a cream cheese icing, so I brought one out. But this one does include a 1.5 ounce packet of peanut butter. And I guess the idea is peanut butter for the Skyflakes crackers, but I think I may skip the peanut butter entirely and just have these with the soup. And then there are two snack mixes. This is the Indulgent Trail Mix. And then this is the Peanut Butter Trail Mix, which I have had recently. And then the last thing out of the box is the accessory packet. I could slide my tray back over. Inside here, a small spork that's way too small for the bag. A wet wipe. Packet of sugar. There's pepper. There's coffee creamer. Some Folgers instant coffee. And a packet of salt and two little candies, Lifesaver fruit flavor candies. I'm only going to have the cocoa today, so I'll be skipping the coffee. So before I do anything else, I'm going to go ahead and open up this while I see who else is here. Let's see, we've got Burger Butt Dave is in the house. CR, Gardening Warrior Q, Spicy Tuna Rolls is here. I'm getting the desk pack out of here, and it's been heavily colored by the seasoning. So there is rice in here. You can see the veggies. Now, because I like some onion and garlic and black pepper in here, I just got a bit of this. And some Himalayan pink salt. I'm going to go ahead and rip the top off of the soup bag. I have a plastic bag off to the side for collecting the trash. And then the cocoa mix I'm going to go ahead and pour into the mug. I'll put that back there. And to make mixing in these bags a lot easier, brought in my longest teaspoon that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and get my kettle and bring that out so I can go ahead and mix this up. I'm going to do this first, then I will do the soup and then the cocoa, and I'll be right back. I put the kettle back on the stove in order to bring it, make sure it stays as hot as possible. I squeeze some of the air out of this. I'm rolling the top over. This is just how I like to do it. So that will sit for 10 minutes. I'm going to put this off to the right, off to my right. Now I'm going to open up the soup mix. Very, very tiny bits of broccoli in here. Well, this one calls for 8 ounces of water, whereas this one called for 12, so this one might be a bit soupy. And I'll just use this spoon to mix this one with as well, even though my 4-gram rice fork would work. I hope all you Canadians up there had a good Canada Day yesterday. I'll be right back. If someone wanted to, with this broccoli cheese soup mix, they could add less water and simply turn it into a sauce. In fact, I might add just a touch more water to this. There. I just took the kettle back into the kitchen just to get it out of the way. I will put that back there. I'm going to open up the drink mix. I brought out my 750 ml bottle. Just so I can have enough water to mix the other items I want to mix up. Well, I wouldn't call this a neon red. It's not glaringly red like the USMRE drink mixes. It actually looks a lot more appetizing. I'm opening the cheesecake mix. With these things, you want to mix them as best as you can so you don't have any dry spots when you get ready to pour it out or to eat it out of the pouch. I probably put a little bit too much water in here, but we'll know later on because I will let this sit for a few minutes. This does not look like the color of chocolate. But it definitely has that taste. I just licked the spork. And I roll the top and I'll shake it. I'll put that back there. It only says let stand for 2 minutes, but I will leave it for more. I probably could have gotten away with my other bottle, but I chose to bring out the bigger one just to be on the safe side. I did bring out 2 bowls. The smaller one I will put the cheesecake in when I go to take it out of the bag. And then this one I will put the soup in. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and open up these snacks. That is the indulgent trail mix. I'll go ahead and put that one right here. And then the peanut butter trail mix. I will put over here. These are the original flavor of the Skyflakes crackers. I'm going to go ahead and put these over here. A little broken, but that's okay. But I can't leave this little spot out, no. Again, just like in the last Eid meal that I did for the Eid al-Fitr, which comes at after the end of Ramadan, I brought out some dates. I just have a container of them that I've been eating some in my kitchen, so I decided to bring out a few of them. It is a common and recommended practice when you eat dates, at least for a Muslim, to eat an odd number of them, whether it be 1 or 3 or 5. This has not set 10 minutes yet, but I'm going to give it a shake. And I'm going to do the same with the soup. And the dates look like mussels? This is a variety called Deglet Noor. These have been pitted, so they're somewhat dried, but not completely dried, so they're rock hard. You can still squeeze them. But the pits or seeds have been removed. Although the container always say you might find a piece of a seed or pit. Yeah, there's different varieties of dates like medjool and some others. You can look up online date varieties, see the wide variety of dates you can find. And dates are also commonly used in the fruit bars, say like the Lara bar or the RX bar, or even some of the other fruit bars you might find in rations from other countries. Although the Russian bars have a tendency to have plum as their carrier fruit, or it could be fig, or it could be a combination. But dates are often used, at least here in the US, and maybe other countries, but this is just what I have seen. I'm just going to give my tropical punch another mix. And more places are selling dates than in the past, because I used to never be able to find them all the time in the average grocery stores like Hy-Vee or Walmart. I used to only get them at Hillel Groceries, but now I have even seen them in Walgreens. And I think I showed that in one of my shopping hauls some time back. I think it was before Ramadan or during, or I got a bag of dates from Walgreens. It, they have their nice brand. And then we got dates. They're Deglet Noor like this from Costco. Someone had brought in several bags of these from Costco. And although these particular ones were imported from Tunisia where they're grown, dates are grown in California because they have the right climate for it. You know, they grow on a palm tree. It's called a date palm. So you can find dates that are labeled, you know, product of California or maybe product of the US. They may also be grown in the Southwest because it's a desert, dry climate where other palm trees can be grown. Oh, this has tightened up. It's gotten thicker. I can't even shake it. So I'll go ahead and open up this. Again, I have this cream cheese icing, which was not included in here, but I got it out of my stash. I keep the packets of these in the fridge. But I brought it out to let it warm up so it'd be easier to squeeze it out. That's where I keep my packets of sweetened condensed milk, is in the fridge. When this particular box is packed, I don't know if they forgot to put the cream cheese icing in and they put the peanut butter packet in instead, or if it was a deliberate omission. So I will put this I just put that next to my my cold drink. Now I'm going to get the soup and I will put it into this bowl. And it's a good thing I did add that little bit of extra water in it because it did get thick. I saved the lamb and veggies for last. This is a yellow curry. So there, let me get the focus back. There we go. The lamb was perfectly hydrated. It's ground lamb. Just trying to get the focus back. The rice and the veggies are perfectly done. And the minced onion that I put in there plumped up. The peas still have a bit of a bite to it. I'm sure without the additions that I made, this would have been good, but I like to have some onion and garlic and pepper in my curry. And a little bit of salt because that wakes up the flavors even more. The carrots also still have a bit of bite to them. They haven't gone completely soft, even though the pieces are really small. Yep, this soup is definitely cheesy. You wouldn't mind a bit more broccoli in here. And the broccoli pieces are really, really small. Now there's a bigger bit right there. Yeah, this one is a winner. Take a drink of my tropical punch. I would have preferred another drink mix to this, but this is what was in the box, so I'm going with it. This tropical punch does taste better than the mil spec version. And I'm not too keen on the red food coloring in there, but that is a step above the mil spec version. Now this is what you do with these crackers instead of just dropping peanut butter on them. Use a thick cheese soup as a dip. Now this is a cocoa mix that would probably be closer to a European style cocoa mix. It's not overly sweet. It looks a little darker. Almost like the abuelita cocoa mix that I need to get some more of. I'm going back for more of this. Wow, my chat just did not show up. Let's see, we got Nation Emery Fines. Carolyn is here. I'm scrolling back to see who all came in since I last saw anything from the chat pop up. Looks like those are the only two that have showed up. What do you mean? Good color on the lamb curry? Yeah, this is your typical yellow curry. You can also find green curries and red curries. It just means a different blend of spices is used. Now, this is not fried rice. This is not Asian. This would be like more of an Indian, Middle Eastern style. Green curries and red curries you might find in some Asian cuisine. But this is more Indian and Middle Eastern style. There's not a whole lot of lamb in this, but what there is came out pretty darn good. Lamb is a more expensive meat. So when you go to buy it in the store, you're going to have to pay a lot more for it than you would for some other meats. But even if this were vegetarian, this would still be pretty decent. It just has a whole lot more with the addition of the lamb in it. Well, this is pretty much everything that is in the indulgent trail mix. Now this peanut butter trail mix was in that Minotaur hiker ration, that 12-hour ration that I brought out a few weeks ago. So the Reese's Pieces, these are the peanut butter chips. Or if you wanted to, you could always mix the two of these together. But I'll keep them separate just for the heck of it. But I have to keep going back for this. Then I could follow that with a dip. These crackers have held up surprisingly well, considered they were just in that thin wrapper. They don't taste as fresh or as crisp as some very new ones would, but they still taste very good. And you can buy the Skyflakes crackers in single flavor and variety packs on Amazon. I suppose people might be wondering what Ciara was cooking outside. And if did you do the same thing yesterday for Canada Day? Or was it basically a do nothing day? LC is probably just spending the whole weekend with her family since she's up in Canada. So it is 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. Yeah, it's already Monday morning for info, so maybe someone pulled an all-nighter or just gets up early. It may not be someone's bedtime. It may be someone's get-up time. Get that focus back. I always lose the focus when I'm putting my hand in the way to get a bite of my food or to get a drink. Now, speaking of Canadians, CT put up a video of a relatively new ration for the Canadian military. It's a light meal combat. It would be somewhat like a single meal version of our first strike ration. Where you basically have foods that you can just open up and eat. The only thing you prepare is your drink mix. but you still get 2 drink mixes in the LMP or the LMC bag, and it's in the same style bag as the standard IMP has been in for the past couple of years. And the other difference is they do not have menu numbers, just the name of the what you could loosely call an entree. And in the case of the one that he had, it was barbecue beef jerky. And it was actually not hard. I've only had the Canadian beef jerky, I think, once, and it was pretty hard. But the one that he opened up was actually easy for him to eat, no problem. And he was last in my state. He was in the town of Cedar Rapids. Or the guy that has a channel, Prepping Life, is from. And Aletha is near there. She hasn't been on YouTube much lately, but she and I still communicate on Facebook. So if you want to connect with her, you can look her up on Facebook if you do Facebook yourself. I'm just breaking up the rest of these crackers so I can dip them in the cheese. I probably could have gotten away with even a little bit more water than this, but this is perfectly fine as a dip. Heck, I could take a pretzel from my peanut butter trail mix and dip it in here. Granted, those pretzel pieces are not very big, but it still works. Yesterday, when I went out to lunch with my mom and three of my siblings, one of my sisters either could not make it because of her work or other things she had to do, or she chose not to come because she might have some issues with some of the food. But we went to Gersha, which is my favorite lunch spot since I was first introduced to it a few years ago. When they also have cooked for the mosque during Ramadan, but my mom and late dad used to love going to an African restaurant years ago when they would take their lunch breaks from their job as apartment managers. The place that they used to go to is no longer in business. Otherwise, I would try to find out about that place and see if I could get there, but ever since I started posting pictures of my meals at Gersha, which is Ethiopian, my mom has been interested, so my oldest sister picked her up and then came and picked me up so that I wouldn't have to try to time it with the bus because of the detour on that particular stretch of University Avenue. Of course, the detour really wouldn't affect where this place is located because this was before or after it, depending on which direction you're going. But it was just easy for her to come and pick me up. And then we got basically a sampler plate, but we could each pick the 5 items that we wanted. And that would be in addition to either rice or injera, which is a spongy type of round bread that's as big as a super jumbo pizza. So usually when I go there and I use the gift cards that have been given to me, or I'm just paying for it outright, I just get a combination of 2 items, plus I usually get both rice and injera because I happen to like both. But I gave Mom a gift card last December, so she, although it was all put onto one tab, my mom offered up that gift card, so that took $13 off the total. And then one of my other sisters actually paid for the rest. But we had a good time, and my mom really enjoyed the food. And what she could not eat there, she took home, and the same with one of my sisters. She also took some home. But some of their food is spicy, some not. But getting a sampler plate of half a serving of each item, and you get to have more of a taste of everything on the menu. So, yeah, we had a good time. And I'm glad that she was actually able to come enjoy the place that I like so much. The guy that actually owns Gersha is one of the co-owners of Hillel Groceries. And so Gersha makes the injera that is sold at Hillel, and then Hillel supplies some of the other ingredients for Gersha, such as the rice, the beef, and the chicken, and the spices, and some other things that they use. And they're just basically half a block from each other, or about a block and a half from each other. So it's very easy to move stuff between the two places. About the only things that Gersha has that I have not tried are their chicken samosa, their mango smoothie, or the coffee, or the tea that they do. I don't know how they do their tea, if they just have tea bags or if they use loose tea. But I have had their beef and veggie samosas. They are really good. Well, my chat froze again. I gotta go scrolling back to see if I. Oh, wow. Dang it. Wow, that sucks, Q. That is really, really really crappy. That's a shame you don't have any places like that over there. I mean, it would be a real treat to get something like that. We have another restaurant that is Indian and Pakistani, but they closed about the after Ramadan for some renovations, and I think some of the staff had to leave the country for a while to deal with some stuff. I'm not sure if they have reopened yet, but they have also cooked for the mosque. So I have been there a few times. It's not quite as conveniently located as Gersha. Yeah, I have to walk several blocks from a bus stop to get to La Zaza. And their food is a bit more expensive. But I had a gift certificate, so I was able to go in there a few times off of that. But either one of these places is very close to Drake University. So there's something different for the students and staff to go to. If they want something different than what's offered in the cafeteria, or yeah, a pizza place or Chinese, or there's a Jimmy John's near there. But yeah, having something different is definitely good for local food scene. Now we have a variety of Asian and Latino restaurants here. I don't hit them up as often. Yep, that's right, CR. Variety is the spice of life. I do miss a Korean restaurant that used to be here. That was where I got my first taste of kimchi. And every time I go in there, no matter what else I was getting, I always had to get that kimchi. The only kimchi that beats that is a homemade kimchi that I won from TAC of ALK Foraging and Adventures. uh, several years ago. Now that was some awesome kimchi. Of course, being that she grew up eating that kind of food, and she knows how to make a good kimchi. Now, next Sunday, I'm going to pull one of those tactical food packs that I got from Emery Mountain. They were left alone by customs. Bags are steel, factory sealed. So I'm looking forward to getting into them. Now the ration bag itself becomes the ration heater bag, just like if you've ever seen videos on what's called O-meals, where you have the bag that has the retort pouch and the heater element, that you open up the wrapper of the heater element, put that down in the bottom of the bag, put the water in, put your retort pouch in, seal it up, and in that little hole that's punched near the zip seal, that is a vent where the steam comes out. So that's how you would use that bag, and then of course you'd use it as your trash bag when you're done. So they work just like any other ration heater. So when I bought those from Emery Mountain, the elements were wrapped separate, not inside of the ration bag, but you get one with those, and they were made in Estonia. I just dipped a couple more pretzels in this. So instead of using the ration bag as a trash bag, I will simply put the heater element still in its wrapper inside of there, zip it up, and then store it with all of my other ration heater bags. that I can have in case of an emergency. And because it is a huge bag, I could put a standard food can inside there. See, I have a can of Hormel chili, but I have no other way of heating it up. But I want to keep it in the can. I would just put the can in the bag with the heater element, throw some water in it, zip it up, and that would at least warm it. Or I could take one of my beverage bags, put my coffee, creamer, and sugar in it, or 3-in-1, or tea, or whatever that I want hot. Put the water in there, shake that up, and then seal it up. Put that in that heater bag with the element, put the water in it, and then just let it rip. Or the other thing I could do with those is I could take it on a trip. Say if I was doing a short hike, but I wanted to stop for a meal, I'm mixing the cream cheese icing into this cheesecake fluff. But I could just use the ration heater to heat up either a small can or retort pouch. So if I took one of those duplicate entrees from that Chef 5 Minute Meals 72-hour ration, I could take that, one of my ration heater bags, put that in my pack, and if I go to a place either that's under a fire ban, or the conditions are just not right for a fire, or I just don't feel like it, and I didn't have a camp stove on me, say like my little pocket stove or my Espet stove or alcohol stove, I could just use that, heat that retort pouch up that way, and I got lunch. As I said before, that's what I did when I first started volunteering doing the kids crafts at the White Eagle Multicultural Powwow that takes place every fall. Before I found out that volunteers could go to a certain area to get food. So I took a retort pouch, maybe another thing, plus whatever I was drinking, and ration heater, and an MRE bag that I had saved, and I used that ration heater to heat up that retort pouch, and because it was already a hot day, the ration heater literally melted and fused itself to the MRE bag. For that particular day, that's how hot it got. I might actually keep this bowl out there so I'm not getting a whole lot of glare. Another reason to save the ration heaters is to take with you when you want to have something hot but you don't or can't have any other means to cook it. You just use one of those ration heaters. And you're good to go. Well, the ones that I have that came with their own water pouch that had something added to the water, I separated those off just to keep them safe from getting popped. Okay, when you got to take off, you got to take off. You got supper to chow down on. Obviously, I would have more ration heaters if I wouldn't have used some of them. It would be nice to have those Chinese ones. I saved the insulation foam bags that I got with those Chinese rations that I reviewed, but I'll tell you, those ration heaters are like rockets. They really take off. In fact, I put an FRH in one of those bags. The FRH bag leaked, but that Chinese foam bag captured all of that water that escaped. Otherwise, I would have had a real mess on my hands. There is South Florida sunshine. Oh, you mean this one? This is, it's like a peanut butter butterscotch chip. It's got like that's a peanut or peanut half. Actually, an almond in there. There's a raisin. And a chocolate chip. And then like the white chocolate chip. That's what there is in this one. Yeah, this one, here, I'll slide that over. So my camera mount. So there's Reese's Pieces. There's a couple of these in here left. There's the peanut butter chip. And of course, peanut. And the mini pretzel sticks. And that's what there is in this one. Get the focus back. So my main entree was this. And then there was a broccoli cheese soup powder that I mixed up. That's what was in this bowl, but it thickened up, so I was using my crackers to dip in it. I was dipping the crackers in it because it got so thick. And this is a butterscotch, or not butterscotch, but chocolate cheesecake mix. Is a powder. And then I mixed in some cream cheese icing. I had a packet of that. The cream cheese icing didn't come in the box, but a packet of peanut butter did, but I decided not to open that because I wanted to eat the crackers with the broccoli cheese soup. And then I just brought out some dates from my kitchen. And the reason why I chose the lamb was we recently celebrated what's called Eid al-Adha, the second major holiday for Muslims, which coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca and Saudi Arabia. And during that time, people who are performing all the Hajj rituals, they will slaughter an animal or have someone do it for them if they are not physically capable of doing it themselves. And then people outside of Saudi Arabia, those who could not make the Hajj, if they are able to and have access to an animal to slaughter, or they will have someone do it for them, or they will send money to a charity in another country that will do it and give that meat to poor people of that particular area. And sheep or lamb or goat, those are the most often animals used. Although bigger animals such as cattle or camels, even if they have access to a camel, then someone would would slaughter that camel and butcher up and divide the meat among either larger relatives or just have a whole lot more meat to give to local poor people who would otherwise not have any meat to eat for this holiday. In the past, I have been given some meat from someone who would slaughter a lamb or a goat here locally and then distribute the meat. So a couple of times I have been given meat from an animal that someone else had slaughtered. And they go to a local farm that allows it to happen, or the farm is owned by a Muslim. So that's the reason why I chose the lamb. And then, of course, dates are often part of the celebration as well. So that's why I decided to get some dates. And when a Muslim eats dates, it's recommended to eat an odd number of them, whether it be 1, 3, or 5, or 7, or whatever. So I thought this would be like a kind of a celebration meal, just like I did after the end of Ramadan. Now, the last Sunday of this month, I will not be going live because I will be heading out on my annual family trip. So there is July 30. I will come back on this Friday, which is August 4. Probably this didn't focus too well on this screen, but so I obviously will not be streaming on that day. It also happens to be my brother's birthday. And because my brother has been staying here in town, we don't know if he will be able to get any time off from his job because he hasn't been there all that long yet. But if he can come on that day, then he will come with us. Otherwise, if he can come some other time during that week, someone may go back, come back here to Des Moines and get him and bring him here. He has not driven since his accident that came very close to permanently disabling him. So he had a hard time getting work down in Arkansas and getting someone who could pick him up and take him to work from his place out in the country. Sorry about that brief disconnect. So he wanted to come up here. Plus, I think he wanted to be closer to Mom. You know, she's having health issues, but I'm so happy she was able to come out and have lunch at my favorite lunch spot. And she's been wanting to try it since she first saw me post pictures of it. So my brother is actually staying with two of my sisters. So he can walk to a bus stop, which is just a few blocks away from the house. And then he goes to one location where he changed buses to go to where he works. So he's working at an auto parts store, which is actually a great fit for him since he's done auto detailing and some mechanical work. Of course, he also built two motorcycles from literally boxes of parts. Unfortunately, I never got to ride either one of those motorcycles. I'm taking the chocolate chips from here and putting them into this cheesecake. I'll call it fluff. That's it for the chocolate chips. I did that just for the heck of it. We already have the 2 cabins at Lake Icaria booked, not only for this trip, but for next year. After 2020, you know, so many people want to get out of town and into campgrounds and, you know, just camping anywhere they can. Do it legally, of course. It used to be where we could book for next year the day we leave from the current trip, or before, whenever one of my sisters can get enough signal to do it, and enough mobile data signal to do it. Or last year, 2 years ago, we had to book for this year. And then last year, we booked for 2024. But in 2025, we may do something different. We will discuss that. Again, we've kind of kicked around some ideas, but we'll discuss it again. But Lake Icaria is my dad's favorite lake, and the county parks department put up benches several years ago around the lake. And if you pay a certain amount of money, you can have the name of a loved one put on there. And so my mom did that. There is a bench out there that has my dad's name on it. My dad has been camping there since before the lake was actually created in that campground. So that is what we will be doing from July 30 to August 4. But when I pack for an extra day just to be on the safe side. Yeah, we do have I got a tape measure in my rod bag, and then one of my sisters who has a tackle box has tape measure. My younger nephew has one. But I now own a fish scale. So I will be putting that in my rod bag. Here is CT in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I hope you had a good candidate day yesterday. Oh, that's funny, CT. When Info said what time it was early in the stream, when he said it was 4 a.m., when I was saying it was 8 o'clock Central Time, Spicy said, go to bed. Sorry, I didn't mean to bump the phone out. Okay, that's cool. And there's Shadow Scout Swede, already getting things going on a Monday morning. I finished off most of the food that was in here. And down to this chocolate cheesecake stuff or fluff or whatever you want to call it. There's no crust, it's a powder that you mix, and I threw some chocolate chips that were in my indulgent snack mix, just for the heck of it. I mixed in a packet of the cream cheese icing that I had in my fridge. And I just opted for the hot chocolate. And I could have done the mocha, but I decided I'm not going to do the coffee tonight. I'm actually going to put that in a bag. Rather have some Folgers coffee sticks. I'll save that coffee for another day. But this is that chocolate cheesecake. Then this box had some broccoli cheese soup powder mix that I mixed up and had in this bowl. And this is a tropical punch. And then I got 3 dates from my kitchen. And the reason why I got the dates and the reason why I chose this lamb curry was that we Muslims recently celebrated Eid al-Adha, which coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia, Mecca. And during the Hajj, the pilgrims will either slaughter an animal or have someone do it for them if they are not capable of doing it themselves. Or it's just more expedient to have someone do it because, from what I have seen in some videos that I've watched from there is just a whole bunch of guys who all they do is slaughter the animals and then move the carcasses on to the butchers who will butcher them up and then divide the meat according to how the person who requested that particular animal to be slaughtered to be divided up, or give all the meat to local poor people. I mean, if I were going there, and being that I am not a permanent resident there, I would simply give all of the meat to a charity that would give it to poor people before I leave that country to come back home. And of course, people outside of Saudi Arabia, if they have the means to do so, would also slaughter an animal and divide the meat 3 ways. A portion for themselves, another portion for other family members, maybe who don't live in their house, and then a portion to give to poor people. And I have been given the meat from animals that have been slaughtered in this manner in the past. What the pilgrims do is when it's time to have a meal, I believe they all just go to specific areas where they all eat together in large groups. Instead of trying to source food on their own, when you have a few 100,000 people all congregating in a relatively small area, they have to do these communal kitchens set up all over the area where the people are staying the night. At one point, people have to spend the night in a place called Mina, and another night they have to stay in a place called Mustalifa. So those places have to be able to accommodate all those hungry travelers. So I'm pretty sure that locals do a lot of this. They may be volunteer food servers or cooks or maybe they work for a catering service or restaurants or hotels or whatever and they do it. I don't know. I would have to ask someone who has actually been there because I know several people who have been there at least once. Yeah, I mean because you have so many people, they stagger the departure times of the various of each group so that they try to make the travel as efficient as possible. Yeah, they do. Yeah, what? Yeah, some of them. I mean, it would be a whole bunch of different organizations and individuals that do that. Now, I can hear fireworks going off. I heard them last night too, so I don't know if it was uh, shooting them off in the ballpark after a ball game or Yankee Doodle Pops. Yeah, it would be. And of course, before 2020, there have been like well over maybe 250,000 plus doing the Hajj. It has gone down to around 100,000. Of course, in 2020, I recently saw a picture of what is known as the Grand Mosque or the Masjid al Haram, which is where the Kaaba is, that square block that you see in the middle of it. I saw a picture from 2020 completely empty. Not even one of those people in the green, bluish green outfits with same colored kufi caps that are there to clean that mosque every day. Yeah, you didn't see anyone there in 2020. Now it's been filling up again. And for the locals that actually live in that area, that would just be where they go to pray every day. Not just during a pilgrimage. That is, you know, that is a daily use mosque just like any other in the world. Oh, ouch. Yeah, that was true everywhere, and not just the it was up to the larger churches, larger temples, and synagogues and mosques to do all that because the mosque I attend, for a while, no one was going. I think someone might have gone in there just to check the mailbox to see if anyone had sent any mail to the mosque address. And that's about it. And then it opened up to men only, but only a few at a time, and you had to space yourself. You couldn't stand right next to anyone else. You had to stand like a yard apart, or maybe a meter apart from anyone else. And so there were no Friday lunches after the Friday prayer. There was no, we didn't have our nightly dinners during Ramadan. I did go in there a couple of times during that year just to check on things since I'm a key holder. But I went at times that no one else, in between the prayer times. And that was pretty much it. I go in there, do what I went there to do, and then I would leave and go back home. Yeah, it sure did. Oh, wow, Shadow. I hope that helps your little fur kid. Fortunately, I never had to do anything like that for Mila, but then, she got towards the end of her life, that's when she really started to get sick and thought, she's 18 and a half. The vet bills are just going to be too much for me. I don't have pet insurance. So I just decided I'm going to send her across the Rainbow Bridge. So hopefully things will be a lot better for Shadow's kitty. Now for those that came in late, I said that at the end of this month, on July 30, I will not be streaming because I will be out of town. I will be having something for supper at camp. We go to a couple of cabins on Lake Icaria. And we will come back on August 4th, although I always pack for an extra day just to be prepared to spend an extra day. If not there anywhere, even though it's not all that far from here, I just like to be prepared. You know, and when you're a prepper, you think like a prepper all the time. On the family trip, you may add a couple of extra things. And even if we don't stay an extra day, just to have an extra change of clothes in case we have a super downpour and we're caught out in it, and I have to have something dry to change into, I'll have that. I always take an extra day's worth of my medicines and supplements. Because you just never know. And next year when we go, we will be staying 6 nights instead of 5. Because that's the way that my sister who booked it was able to do it. So then when I pack for this trip next year, I will pack for an 8th day, just out of a sense of caution. Well, have a good night. Down there in Florida, her channel used to be known as Fishes and Loaves Live. So that is the same person down there in Florida. She just changed her channel name. So if you're not familiar with that name, the same person as Fishes and Loaves Life. She just changed the channel name. And she had to take off to get her son in bed. When you have a special needs kid, you got to do some extra stuff. Even if that child would be the same age as someone who is more independent and more fully capable of doing their own stuff. So she and her husband have to deal with those types of issues. But as a parent, you want to do everything you can for your kid, if you're a good parent, you know, and And I am very certain that they are good parents. Trying to give their kids the best life they can. And plus, she has a banana tree in her yard that she looks after. An actual fruit-bearing banana tree. I also said earlier that next week I will be pulling out one of those tactical food pack rations that I bought from MRA Mountain. They had 2 menus, and I bought one of each. So I have 2 of those. And Customs did not raid them, so I'm very happy about that, even though they contain meat. They left them alone. So I will be pulling one of those out next week. And then the week after that, I have my spinach fettuccine MRE, and then a retort pouch of the white chicken chunks. I like combining that chicken with that spinach fettuccine. To me, that's a good combo. That gives a little extra something to that fettuccine, and then that fettuccine in turn gives a little something to that chicken. And I may throw in a little something extra with that. I don't know. I may have a little fun with that one. But that will be in 2 weeks. And then I have another one of those tactical food packs. And then I recently ordered a Polish ration off of someone who is here in the States, so I don't have to worry about Customs raiding the package. Because the person I ordered it from has probably had it sometime and was able to get it in without any issues. And so this person is selling some of their rations, and I ordered a Polish one. This person had another Polish one, but someone else wanted that one, so. But I'm okay with that. Even if it's a Polish main that I've had before, I don't care. I'm going to enjoy it. And speaking of Polish rations, I did look on the ARPO website, arpol.net.pl, and I was able to switch the language to English. And you can order directly from them. Although I have no idea how much it would cost to ship an item from there to here, because the currency does not switch to the dollar. I'm not sure if it is in euro or in the Polish zloty, which is or has been their currency. I'd actually have to ask Delicious if the zloty is still their currency, but according to what it looks like on the ARPO website, it may be. But anyway, they have the Polish off-road ration, which I tried to buy on eBay, but the seller sent me a different one and never responded to my messages about the wrong item sent. But at least I got something and it wasn't rated. There's Claude in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Oh, that's gotta be a crapper. So maybe in the future I will do a test order from Arpol, which is a company that makes the Polish rations for the civilian, emergency responder, and civilian markets. So I may order something as a test to see how long it gets here, how much shipping I have to pay for the item, and whether or not customs would decide to rate it. Well, and folks, so since you have ordered directly from Arpol, are the prices, no matter what language you switch to, listed in the zloty currency? I cannot, for some reason, I cannot type in chat on here, but the website URL is arpol.net.pl. One of the mods can go ahead and put that in. I mean, if I was doing it on a desktop, doing the stream, or laptop with a webcam, and having YouTube up on the browser, I could type directly in the chat, but I mean, I could if I got on a second device, but I don't know how my Wi-Fi would take that. And when I come on here to stream, I may not shut my Kindle off, but I close the browser, so I close YouTube. There you go, Shadow did it. And there is the link to the Arpol site, so you can check that out. In addition to the rations, they have a few other items such as military surplus, some military knives that have been used or are currently in use by the Polish military, and a few other things like the Polish military issued wool blankets. I saw those on there. There is LC in the house. Hope you had a good Canada Day yesterday. Yeah, I have pretty much eaten all of the food. The only thing left this packet of peanut butter that apparently they intended to go with the crackers, but I chose to have it with the broccoli cheese soup. I chose the hot cocoa instead of the coffee. And there's LC dropping that super chat. That's much appreciated. Oh, yeah, it was good. Sorry, I dropped the coffee packet, dropped on the floor. So sorry about the weird headshot. But so I will save these. And then this little spork is going into my collection. So I have bags full of plastic utensils to use in case I have to severely restrict my water use and not do dishes, and save as much as of my water as I can for drinking and for the kitty. So that's why I save these. Of course, I still have these two lifesavers. This moist towelette, finger ball. This will get added to my collection of wet wipes. And this peanut butter will get saved for another day. I got a bag that has these Folgers instant coffee sticks, so this will go in there. There's Shadow Scout Swede dropping that super chat. I think that's the first time I've seen him do that. So 50 kroner for that super sticker. That little thingy is called a super sticker. I don't know what 50 kroner would be to the dollar, but I'm okay with that. But again, thanks very much for dropping that. Yeah, fireworks are going off again in the background. I think these are just individual people popping them off. A few, couple of blocks from here. Earlier, it sounded like a professionally done fireworks display, either from the river or the ballpark. So I think last night was the Yankee Doodle Pops concert on the west steps of the state capitol building. There might have been a game at the minor league baseball park that we have here in town. Oh, okay, so it's a little over, yeah, $4.64. That'll do just fine. Again, thanks for dropping that. So it so the total that I see on my screen is $6.75. Of course, the super chat that LC dropped is done in the Canadian dollar. So that little bit will show up later on this year, either in something I buy for use on the channel, or helps pay my my internet bill. And there is my Crusher in the house. This is on the menu tonight. And for those that came in late, the reason why I chose the lamb was we had recently celebrated Eid al-Adha, which coincides with the annual Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And it's during this time that those attending there either slaughter an animal themselves or have someone do it for them. And then the meat is divided up and distributed. And any foreigners who are there simply give all of their meat to an organization that feeds local poor people. And then Muslims around the world who are capable of it or have the means to do so would slaughter an animal and then divide the meat up between themselves and their families, and giving the rest to poor people. And in the past, some locals here have given me some of the meat from animals they have slaughtered. And it has been, is lamb both times. And lamb is the most common, lamb or sheep is the most common animal. Then a goat, maybe a cow. And in places where they have camels, someone might slaughter a camel, and then that would obviously provide a whole lot more meat to distribute. But since I'm not capable of doing that, I'm not doing any harm to myself by not doing it. Although one year I did give money to an organization that would have that done in a different country, and then the meat from that animal was distributed to local poor people there. So that's the closest I came to doing one of these well, it's loosely termed as a sacrifice, but it is not a sacrifice in the sense that Allah needs it. But it is done for the community, and it is to commemorate the willingness of Abraham to sacrifice one of his sons. But just at the last moment, a ram showed up, and Abraham ended up sacrificing that ram instead of his son. But because he was so willing to do that, and the son basically told his father, do what you were told to do, I'm okay with that. So that's what this particular sacrifice, so to speak, it commemorates that. Yeah, back in that time, Jews did slaughter animals. Yeah, as to them, they, you know, it was directed by God to do so, according to their Jewish law. I don't know how much that is done nowadays. Yossi would know more about that, but haven't seen Yossi online much, so I'm hoping that he's doing okay there in Israel. He has been dealing with some stuff and trying to keep his little garden going. And of course, and part of tonight's meal, something that was not included in the box, is I got some dates for my kitchen to include in the meal, because dates are a big part of the Muslim holidays, and of course during Ramadan, when you're fasting, it's recommended to break your fast with an odd number of dates, whether it be 1 or 3. And just like after Eid al-Fitr, which comes after the end of Ramadan, I brought in some dates. I chose to do that tonight. I just scroll back through the chat and change the subject. I have never heard of a watermelon radish until I had seen someone else briefly show them in a garden update video. So is a watermelon radish that big? I mean, not as big as a watermelon, but maybe this size? I'm curious how they would be different from a common radish that I am more familiar with. Well, Elsie, you just asked where the putt came from. I bet that came from the 9th hole of the closest golf course to you. That's probably where that putt came from. Well, I finished off both of my drinks. I think I'll go ahead and open these up. Usually I wait till after the stream ends to open these up to suck on them. It's stuck to the wrapper a tiny bit. This one's pineapple. That one was actually quite soft. I could chew it like almost like it was a soft candy. If I remember right, this orange one is kind of like either orange or a tangerine type flavor. Yep. Yep, they've both gone soft. Well, remember, this was packed in 2021, so it's been around a couple of years. Well, I just pulled this out end of December of 21. Or the beginning of December of 21. So this one was packed in December of 21. So it's basically 1.5 years old. I do store the Lifesavers candies, but they're the hard mint ones. And now there's an orange Lifesaver that is like the peppermint and the wintergreen. It's that white color. It's not the same type like the two I just ate. And so those I do store. In fact, I picked up a couple of those when I went to the track meeting last week, which happened to be on the day of Eid al-Adha. I went to the Eid prayer. I came home, put my prayer rugs away, and then I went to the DART station for the Transit Rider Advisory Committee meeting. And they serve lunch to those attending in person. If you're logging in on Zoom, well, you're on your own for your lunch. But they put a couple of lifesavers, the mint type ones, on the table. And so instead of sucking on them there, or maybe later in the day, I just bring them home. I put them in a Ziploc bag with some others that I have. And those are stored inside of yet another Ziploc bag inside of a 5-gallon bucket, along with some other hard candies. And I have bags of sugar in there. So that's part of my emergency stash. But ones like the two I just ate, because they have a lower melt point, they have a completely different ingredient, list of ingredients, and it's a different formulation. They will melt at a lower heat than other ones would. So that's why I choose to store those types of candies for long term. Because I don't have to worry about them melting at 90 degrees. And just causing a huge mess. Now, we've all seen videos of someone opening up a ration that had Skittles in it, or some other type of candy like that, and it had been heat stressed, and so it would just be in one huge clump instead of individual pieces. Next week, I will bring out one of the tactical food packs. And then the week after, I think I'm going to have a little fun with my spinach fettuccine, plus a retort pouch of chicken chunks, and who knows what else I might throw in there just for the sheer heck of it. And then I have one more tactical food pack. Then the last Sunday of this month, I will not be streaming because I will be at Lake Icaria. And it's very hard to get any signal down there unless I'm in the right spot and I'm aiming my phone in the right direction. Even with my hotspot. And I will come back on August 4th. Although I prepare to stay an extra day just in case, because you never know. So I think that will be it for tonight. And Elsie and Shadow Scout Swede dropped the super chats. That's much appreciated. First time I've seen Swede dropping one. So I have been on here almost 3 hours. So I hope this was enjoyable for those who even came in late. And you can always catch it on the replay later if you want to see the beginning. I added a couple of things to the entree just to give it a little extra flavor, like some Himalayan pink salt, some pepper, some garlic powder, and some dried minced onion, because I like onion and garlic in my curry, and my curry's got to have a little pepper in it. Because that's just how I like it, but it came out good. The broccoli cheese soup ended up getting really thick, but I used it as a dip for the crackers. I figure, why not? And I dipped a few of the pretzels from the peanut butter snack mix in there too. So again, I do want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. And for those up in Canada, I hope you had a wonderful Canada Day. So July 4 is a big holiday down here in the U.S. And for American citizens living in other countries or vacationing in other countries, they'll probably find some way to celebrate. And for those that do celebrate it, I hope it is enjoyable. I hope it is safe. And you don't have to hear fireworks going off at 3 in the morning. So anyway, thanks all for watching, and catch you on the flip side.